All right, guys, I'm going to react to this article. It says, predicting the biggest NFL trades that could shape the 2023 offseason. This article done a few weeks ago, and we will kind of look through it, and I will react to big potential trades. I'm sure Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers will be involved in these predictions. Number one, the Cardinals trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Giants. Guys, I was thinking about this, and it just makes way too much sense. You look at the Giants and their current roster and things like that. Even if they get DeAndre Hopkins, they're still probably going to draft a pass catcher, whether it's a tight end or a receiver, in the first round because they need offensive help so badly. The thought behind what the Giants are going to do, they might just extend Daniel Jones on a 4-year extension at around $30 million per year, and then franchise tag Saquon Barkley, or vice versa. They give Saquon a 4-year deal, they franchise tag Daniel Jones, they trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and they draft someone like a Michael Mayer, like a Dalton Kincaid, like a JSN, Jordan Addison, in the first round, and they really see, that's what I would do. If I'm the Giants, I saw a quote that Saquon Barkley said, listen, I'm not trying to reset the market. I've had injuries. So it's sounding like he doesn't want a ton of money. I'm sure he'll still get a good amount for a running back. But if I was the Giants, I would franchise tag Daniel Jones. I would give him a number one receiver like a DeAndre Hopkins, which realistically you probably only have to give up a third-round pick for Hopkins anyways because his contract isn't good. But the positive with DeAndre Hopkins' contract is, man, he has a $30 million cap hit. I thought it was like $20 million. But the good thing with Hopkins, he only has 2 years remaining. So even if he starts to, decrease in production at age 31, it's not like you're tethered to a terrible contract for 5 years. So this makes so much sense. They could completely retool their offense, and they could treat next year as a trial period for Daniel Jones and say, listen, we drafted Jackson Smith-Njigba, we traded for DeAndre Hopkins, we re-signed Saquon Barkley, and we have a good offensive line. You need to go out there and throw 30 touchdowns, or we're not going to give you a massive extension. Or if you're the Giants, this would probably be even more ideal. You trust that Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. You give him his money now before the cap keeps going up, and, you get him at a decreased value as opposed to signing him next year. So those are the kind of the options that the Giants have. Are they speculating on what it'll cost to get Hopkins? I heard a second or third round pick might do it because of his contract, because of the suspension he had last year. The Bears trade the number one overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. So this would be an absolute mega deal. If Chicago moved from 1 to 9 in a draft class with 3 potential franchise quarterbacks, and you've got Carolina possibly going all out for C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, if they do make this trade, I would be interested to see what they speculate at what the Panthers would give up for it. It would have to be the 9th overall pick and probably 2 first-round picks as well for that trade. The Panthers could package the number 9 overall pick with one of their second-rounders and future draft capital. I mean, it would have to be a lot of future capital to move from 9 to 1. That is a very steep move in terms of draft position in a draft that has, again, 3 potential franchise quarterbacks. There's a lot of speculation. Maybe Chicago trades back to number 2 with Houston. If Houston falls in love with someone, maybe they trade back to number 4 with Indianapolis. Maybe they trade back to number 7. If Vegas doesn't trade for Aaron Rodgers and they fall in love with someone, there's a lot of speculation. This is just a guess. We will see what happens there. Raiders trade Derek Carr to the Jets. So I did see that Derek Carr was visiting New Orleans, and his whole contract situation is really interesting where he has to okay the trade wherever he gets traded to. The expectation is they actually can trade him even with his crazy cap hit next year. It was thought they might just have to cut him, but they will likely get back a third-round pick for Derek Carr, and the Jets are a team, they've actually said, you know what, we still kind of like Zach Wilson. I think that's just the front office. Really, let's be honest, they drafted him second overall. It's only been 2 years. They're not going to want to admit they drafted a bust and completely wasted a second overall pick at number 2. He's got a $35 million cap hit. My goodness. But yes, Derek Carr is on the move. Maybe it's New Orleans. Maybe it's the Jets. It is expected that the Jets will go with some veteran retread quarterback because you look at their situation. If they can't trade for Aaron Rodgers, they have the number 13 overall pick. They're not going to be in a position to trade up and probably draft Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or Will Levis unless one of them falls on draft night. So it's like, do you go after Jimmy G? Do you go after Derek Carr? Do you still have Zach Wilson backing them up? That's just not a great situation. If I was the Jets, I would have all of my focus on possibly, if you're looking for a franchise quarterback, trying anything you can to trade up, maybe with a team like Arizona at number 3. It's a steep jump, but if you find a franchise quarterback, it's so important. The idea that Derek Carr is going to lead you to an AFC championship is just ridiculous. But they have built a nice infrastructure in New York with their rookie class, with Gardner, with Breece Hall, and things like that. The Saints trade head coach Sean Payton to the Chargers. So this was a while ago. That obviously did not happen. Listen, trading a first-round pick for a coach, I guess it's not horrible as long as it's a late first-round pick, which it was, and that's what Denver did. We'll have to see if it works out for them. Titans trade QB Ryan Tannehill to the Falcons. Oh my God. If I'm a Falcons fan, I don't know what the Falcons were thinking this year. The Falcons might have had the worst year out of anyone. They didn't improve, but they also weren't bad enough to get a top 5 pick. And we didn't even get to see much of Desmond Ridder, so I think the Falcons did a really bad thing there. There are some recent reports out of, I believe, Tennessee that they might just keep Ryan Tannehill and have him in a quarterback battle with Malik Willis, which would be real bad, in my opinion, if you're a Titans fan, but we'll have to see. This is another article. It says predicting the 5 biggest trades in the upcoming 2023 season featuring Lamar Jackson to the New York Jets. My goodness. So it says trades that could stun the NFL world. Derek Carr to the Bucks. I've seen that a few different places. Derek Carr possibly going to the Bucks. The reason is because the Bucks have good offensive talent. Godwin and Mike Evans and others. So if you're Carr, you have to be attracted to that. Cameron Jordan traded to Kansas City for, what would they give up? Yeah, New Orleans has a horrible cap situation. I wonder what they would give up for Cameron Jordan, who is older and who is coming off a down year. Brandon Cooks finally gets traded, this time to the New York Giants. I think it's very clear the Giants are going to get a top receiver. Whether it's Brandon Cooks. Wow, Brandon Cooks is only 29. I didn't know that. I thought he was like 31. Chicago trade the number 1 overall pick to Indianapolis. So this is another trendy thing with Indianapolis trading from 4 to 1 to draft Bryce Young. I've seen that a lot. And then Lamar Jackson goes to the New York Jets in a huge trade. That's being predicted as well. I think it's all speculation. We don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. It's either going to be an extension or a franchise tag and then a trade. So we will see what happens with Baltimore. There's been questions about their commitment to Lamar Jackson, his health concerns. I think the Deshaun Watson contract did the Baltimore Ravens 0 favors because Lamar Jackson is using that contract and all the guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson got as a starting point for his contract, and the Baltimore Ravens are not comfortable committing a fully guaranteed contract to Lamar Jackson because of his injury concerns, his overall stature, and his mobility as a quarterback. So, we'll have to see. I mean, Baltimore, in my opinion, either way, they're either re-signing Lamar Jackson or they're trading him for 3 first-round picks. Probably even more than that if you're trading him to the Jets, because the Jets have the 13th overall pick. You'd have to give up like 3 first-rounders and a second-rounder on top of that if you're going to trade for Lamar Jackson. So we'll have to see what happens, guys, but that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.